it is paying teachers. We're not doing that. What we're doing is giving support. But the requirement was given by the control of budget. And we're just pragmatic that, okay, if the control of budget insists that we should do an intergovernmental agreement, all counties did the intergovernmental agreement, have gazetted them, notification to the county assembly. So she's using Article 187. And so we're being pragmatic, saying, okay, if that's what you insist to do, because you can imagine, Chair, a child who is in Form 2 on our bursary, which we have committed to from Form 1 to Form 4, and you know.
Yeah, we understand.
So we're just being pragmatic.
Yeah, we understand you. I want you so that you clarify that one answer.
But there's no money for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the issue of social protection.
Yeah.
You know, if you go for social protection, you'll do everything under social protection. That is not sufficient. On these babies who are in formal sectors, that is not done properly.
Yeah.
What is a committee we're interested in is the budget that has been given to a sector called education.
Yes.
And we are telling ourselves, what exactly must we do in that education sector? Must we be paying a university student who can go on strike if they don't get, did not stop the strikes? They went on strike because they didn't like the formula. They don't care who is going to do it, but they have said that we must go back to the original formula. So, although we have baptized it social protection, and you know this because you are a senator, we have baptized it social protection, we are affecting other sections, and we will be able to show you when we go to the VTCs what we are talking about. Of course, my biggest worry is what you mentioned, the numbers of your ECDE.
Yeah.
The numbers.
This
is Nairobi. How can we be having this? But I hope you'll be able to give us also the figures of the number of primary schools you have, because I don't believe the primary schools in Nairobi are 230.
They're 210 actually, not 30.
210,
yes.
Which is a disaster
to
begin with. Yeah. So it means we must build double the number of CCDs in between.
So
let me allow you to finish it, then we'll come back.
Yes, so what we're doing, you know, that is a number that has been there since I was in class 2, you know. Now I'm the governor, I have to build this in this city. We don't have to build, you see, Nairobi is not like many counties that have vast distances. You may not need a new school, but you can build more classrooms. You can go up. You know, you don't have to look, because land is extremely expensive in the city. If an acre of land is costing you 200 million shillings, that would be how many classrooms, you know, within the same centers, and then employing more teachers. Where we have land, like the example I've given, where we have public surrenders, you know, of land, when you do a subdivision scheme, and 10% comes to the county, is where we can do new schools. Chair, on the intergovernmental agreement to fund or to allow counties to also issue scholarships and bursaries, and I'll give you the figures that I said were different. In 22-23, for instance, we gave bursaries to 134,127 children. 134,127 children. And scholarships to 4,988. Scholarships are those who've done well in class 8, and so you support them from Form 1 to Form 4. In 2023-24, it was 119,000 children. That's half a billion, 595 million shillings, and 5,100 scholarships, because now we onboarded a new Form 1 class. The reason why, Senator Kinyua, you're saying the recurrent budget went down was once the controller of budget stopped the issuance of scholarships and bursaries, in a supplementary we removed it, because then you need that figure to balance something different. So that is why you see a sharp reduction in recurrent, because that is a recurrent expenditure. Development expenditure has been either constant or going up, because it includes construction of ECDE centers, or construction of central kitchens, or just renovation of the facilities that we have. Chair, Nairobi needs that affirmative action in the number of schools it has. And I've explained, I know how the city was before multipartism and how it became after. And many of you are older, including the senator who is my cousin, who I have not mentioned because it's very, very difficult. But she's my auntie. So, you know, because of age, I call her auntie. So, auntie senator, there's a reason why this infrastructure was not built. I'm sure that you've seen a clip one day, I even shed a tear. Because that child needs a fair chance at life. No child chooses to be born in the slum or in the informal settlement. And the prerogative we have is to give them equality of opportunity. That a child born in Madari can have the same shot at life as a child born in Karen. The equalization is education. And if the thing that is bringing them to school is that they will get a meal and they will get off the streets. Chair, when I drive in this city, during the holidays, I find kids, whether it is outside Lavington, those children who you'll find there, and they come to me, they know my car, and ask them, why are you guys out here? They say, you know, during holiday, there's no food. So we have to come look for the food. Chair, there's a young girl called Mildred, who, when we were doing scholarships last year, 2024, January, I met her. It was at Nairobi Milimani. She was wearing this watch. So I asked her, Mildred, you're getting a scholarship to go to Form 1. This watch is only for primaries. All my children wear this. This is a tab to it. This is what we use to verify that we have permission. This child is called Kavindu, and maybe there's this allergy or not. I can even tell how many children are going to school today based on this. Yeah. So she was still wearing it. So I asked her, Mildred, why are you wearing this? And she said she's an orphan in Kangemi. She's been living with her grandmother. She had never gone to school for 3 days straight until, and so she was performing very badly. Until when we introduced this program in third term of 2023, is when she went to school for every day. She moved from the bottom of her class to top 10 in the city. And she got a chance to go to Loreto Convent, Limuru. So she said, because, yes, quoted, your school. So she said, because of this, yeah. So she said, because of having this chance at an education, she will never remove it. So in fact, now what I have to do is to keep refreshing her watch, because it's a symbol for her. The reason I wear it, I don't eat in those schools, but it's a commitment. It reminds me of the commitment to these children. And Senator Kinyua, 29% is because of food. The population does not grow by 29%. The population of Nairobi grows by 4%, 3 to 4% annually. I was talking to the headmaster of Hospital Hill Primary School. The head teacher tells me they have a waiting list of 6,000 parents who want to bring children to that one school because of food. So yes, what we've done is a pilot. We've shown that it is possible, that it can be done consistently. Yeah, to date we've done 60 million meals. 60 million, meaning we fed the whole country plus 10 million. It is scalable. And now with these regulations, and we'll have the board, you will see your people, you know, whether it is your Safaricom CEO, the KPMG, who are not sitting in that board, and a secretariat. Nairobians can be able to support a child or sponsor a child and for it to be audited. So Chair, for the bursaries and the food, there has been no additional budgetary allocation, but our intergovernmental agreement on food specified a shilling for shilling matching. It just hasn't been done. And so the national government owes us that money. They owe us, and if you can help us get it, we'll be very happy. But it's a commitment made, it's on paper, it is signed. When I go to Senator Kinyua's questions, before I come to Senator Catherine Muma, the percentage growth is directly attributable. And I'll be very happy to table a report, Chair, of a study being done by the University of London, College of Hygiene and Health Sciences, on the health outcomes of these children. These children are much healthier. We're actually monitoring. Chair, every day we have labs. And I'd like, by the way, if this committee one day can come on a tour for me to showcase what this process is, from beginning to end, and we go to the schools. I would really...
We actually to counties after meeting the governor, we go to the counties. So we are coming.
Wonderful. That will be great. Cold room used, container used, every surface. When the food goes to school, the temperature is checked. If it is below a certain temperature, that food is not served. The container is sealed. The trucks are specialized. You know, it is a high logistical exercise, and I thank God that it has been successful for the time it has been there. You know, I don't want to cause karma by saying anything, but we have had no single incident since 2023, that time to 2025. The question on the chapatis, you know, it was humorous, but it's a real, you know, the children really wanted it, and they really wanted it. And so the 1 million came because I was saying, look, if I feed 300,000, and each one takes 3, of course that comes close to 1 million, but doesn't mean that you'll do that every single day. The machine that we have found does 6,000 to 8,000 a day. One has been paid for by the president. Schools now can have it, you know, it's not every day. You know, some schools can have today in one part of the city, we're in 6 barrels. Another barrel can have the next day or another day, but the children love it. You know, school feeding cannot be how it was when we were kids, where you're given food that is boring, that you don't enjoy. It is very, very tasty. It is nice. One day, if you walk down the
Maybe, Governor, as you're talking on that, so that I don't come back to it.
Yeah.
School feeding programs.
Yeah.
What is the relationship between building kitchens and having a service provider?
So the service provider, Chair, runs the service. The infrastructure is ours. So we built 17 of these central kitchens. Each of them does between 15 to 20,000 meals. But the employees there running the buses, sourcing the food, you know, whether it is carrots, tomatoes, called food for education, so that they have actually skin in the game, because they have a huge kitchen that already built. When I was in the Senate, you remember when we had the Mang Bills bill by Senator Eno. You know, I spoke about what I saw in the Senate. Remember during COVID, there was a lot of vandalism that happened in schools. And so with friends of mine, I went to donate some desks in a few schools, in Olympic, in Tagweti North, Katina Primary, and in Kinyanjuro Primary. When I went to Kinyanjuro Primary in these schools, normally when you go there, they'll say, oh, Senator Kinyua, we're happy to see you, we're excited. Then you ask the children, what do you want? They'll say, we want a basketball, or they'll say they want a school bus. But children started saying, we want food. And so I tried to bring an amendment into that bill to say that the national government must provide for school feeding by getting it from the farmers. Unfortunately, the bill didn't see light of day. I think it was introduced in this Senate. The number of counties that actually are contributing, you know, to the program, I would love to list for you, including now. Unfortunately, Uasin Gishu is not benefiting because our product is maize, and we're not doing ugali yet. But some parts of the city, actually, the children want ugali. That is Westland. I don't know why. But they're saying that. But I've just forgotten. There's something specific you've asked. Sorry?
No, I think you have answered that one.
Yeah.
It was a relationship between
so the infrastructure is ours.
And the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because some of these ideas, Governor, some of the ideas you give us, we also transmit to other governors.
Yeah.
So where we have something positive, we pick from you. Where we have something negative, we tell you what the others have done.
So I was explaining when I saw that issue in a school called Mukarara Primary by the MP for Dagoretti South. Mukarara Primary had one kitchen built by this, or rather run by this institution called Food for Education that I saw. And I said, we need to replicate it. When we actually engaged them and tendered, because they have skin in the game, in industrial area, they have the biggest kitchen in Africa that has 60,000 meals. And they started in Ruiru. If you just open it up, many brokers and entrepreneurs will come and say, oh, I can also do feeding, I can do it. But you need somebody with the expertise and with the passion to do it. So that is the nexus. And they've also built 7 of their own kitchens themselves. They are funded. They've gotten funding from the Children Investment Foundation Fund. I've seen there's a question on external funding. SIF has funded them. The only external support we've gotten I'll confirm, I think 2024, when we had the climate summit, that was in 2023 or 2024. before. One of the French ministers who came, called Crisula, she was the state minister.
Je, umemaliza kidato cha 4? Una wasiwasi utaanzia wapi hatua ya pili? Hujui ni ufanye aje ili kuhitimu katika tajriba yako? YMCA National Training Institute inakukaribisha kujiunga kwenye diploma courses, certificate na short courses. Wana day na evening classes, wana courses kama plumbing, electrical engineering, building and construction, motor vehicle mechanics, fashion and design, hairdressing and beauty therapy, ICT and computer applications, hotel management and catering. Kwa maelezo zaidi wasiliana na mwalimu mkuu David Simiyu kwenye +254724784150 ama +254736219864. Vilevile unaweza wasiliana na mkuu wa mawazo kwenye +254.
Yes, Nairobi has had governors and the mayors who had, they did 3 billion. In 2 years they did 2 billion. In 10 years, 3 billion. In 2 years, 1.88 to be precise billion. It's just this last year that the control of budget stopped us. But I'm glad even after yesterday's meeting, we're going to resume. And it's good for me using this platform to tell the parents of Nairobi that our program is resuming for bursaries and scholarships. Let me come to Senator Muma's questions. Because
Madam Chair, just a clarification because he's so passionate about on page 4. I'm seeing the beneficiary ECD centers is that you want public ECD centers. Do you mean, because that one you're throwing me off, is that you want are the only...
The standalone. The question was the standalone. But it's actually 231, the ones which are within our primary schools.
No, I'm looking at beneficiary because I'm following up. It's about food.
Yeah.
Page 4 on top. We are discussing food and the beneficiary is that one. Is it that that one are the ones that you have?
And, how many? 230 schools. Then this must be an error. But remember, I explained. It is only 31 ECD centers that are on their own, that are not within a primary school. So it's actually 316,000 children,
316,000 children are being fed.
every day.
Yeah.
316,000.
Maybe so that I dropped my question which I had earlier and you picked it when you talked of donor support.
Yeah.
Why would you give a donor to a service provider instead of controlling the funding yourself? Because this thing you call food for education, by the way, is very attractive to any donor.
It was the donors.
So long as they know it is ring-fenced for that purpose.
Yeah.
But if you start spreading, providers will be doing, you will meet on the table of the donor.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because this is not the only donor you have. You can have Safaricom doing something, you can have all the others who are doing their social responsibility can also do the same. So why are we diverting it? I'm worried because in arid lands, some counties are giving free food 100%. And we have met governors here who give free food 100% to children in ECDE. The reason they have partners. The minute the partners think they are giving money to a service provider, they will run away from even the Nairobi.
They can provide for that direct funding. that time there were no regulations. We've now published those regulations, and at that point it was the funders, wish to actually support this NGO. You see, the service provider is not like a vendor; it's actually an NGO, that attracts support. That would be neater, and I agree with your suggestion. It will actually be neater and easier for us to account for it, and to say for sure this amount has been used in this manner. Chair, that one I take your advice. So yes, so Senator Anti number one. it is
Governor, you're out of order.
Sorry. Anyway, let me go to the questions. The education policy, generally, if you look at the fourth schedule of the Constitution, general education policy is domiciled with the ministry, with the national government, and counties implemented. For informal, what is that? Our framework. One, we have Child Care Facilities Act that we've actually done in Nairobi to regulate that space. We have developed regulations then to operationalize that law, and we can be able to submit that. Actually, public participation around that is going on. We are trying to look at which framework we can have, because we've had formal meetings with these update schools and the ministry. And we're saying that, look, there needs to be, and I agree, Senator Muma, there needs to be a specific policy around this update. Update means alternative provision of basic education and training. There are results they have come up as a result of government not performing or not delivering to the people and not providing. If you go to the ministry says they don't recognize them. They don't recognize them. You cannot do an exam in that update school. And so I agree on the need for a specific policy around the informal update schools, but the correlation of the number of schools in the informal settlements may not necessarily reflect how many of the children in informal settlements are in our schools. Because you find in every informal settlement in Nairobi, neighbors are semi-affluent or affluent area. So for instance, if you go to Muthaiga Primary School, there's no child from Muthaiga. They are from Madare. If you go to in Runda, Gidogoro, the school is in Runda. Cheleta. It's not a child from Runda per se in that school, but it's a child from Gidogoro in that school. So the number doesn't necessarily directly reflect on who is in the schools. It's just where the schools were built. But the schools are very close. Every estate in this city that is affluent or semi-affluent has an informal settlement next to it. And so the children of the workers and whatnot are the ones going to those schools. Now, the problem is land tenure in the informal settlements in terms of being able to find a space to build. So where we have space to increase the capacity or to build more schools, you'll find, for instance, Westlands Primary. The children in Westlands Primary may not be the children from the houses in Westlands. They're from Kangemi, they're from Deep Sea, informal settlement next to Westlands Primary. If you go to my former school, Aga Khan Primary, now the children at Aga Khan Primary are from Deep Sea and High Ridge. They're not the Asians that we went to school with in the same school. So that is the disconnect, or rather the dichotomy that we have in the city. That of course, I support most of his programs, but one that I feel speaks to the hearts of parents, it is building classrooms in Nairobi. Every MP got around 58 million shillings through CDF to do 33 classrooms in the city. When that 1 billion was introduced and they were doing 1 billion per year, the National Assembly, the schools, as a county government. So I'm really open to engage, because we've had public participation sessions with the people in the informal settlements. I go there sometimes, and just listen. And my team does it. In fact, some we do there, some we bring them to Charter Hall when we want a more structured meeting with organizations. We don't do it in the informal settlement, we bring them. Because if you go there, then the Senate, on its own motion, together with educationists, to bring people from different sectors, to come and help us create either policy intervention or a prerogative we have, because I've been in the Senate longer than I've been a governor, is equalization of opportunities. If you equalize opportunities, this country will be good. If Kinyua knows that his child has the same chance in Laikipia to be whatever he wants to be as a child in Kisumu or in Nairobi, we won't even care who is the president. Every Kenyan will be okay. On the issue on...
Chair, just allow me to do a follow-up on that.
Yeah.
I happen to be on the Nairobi delegation, much as I'm Kisumu, not Kisumu Rural, Kisumu Nyakach. I would want us to take the governor seriously on that point. And Governor, I am happy with whoever else as the committee may plan for us as this committee to sit with you, if you allow, and your technical team, for us to be able to assist on what it will look like to have a county policy, particularly around the informal settlements. They are also, I think, just for Nairobi, but for the country. I would be happy as a human rights person and a member of this committee, Chair, with your permission later, to be able to move on.
I'll be very happy to share. We had a task force that was done in a task force report 2014, thereabout, by the first county government, that of course needs updating, but really started looking at that discussion, at those issues. I know Humphrey Watanga was there, but now KRA boss. That mean in terms of even looking for external support, in terms of what moves from the ministry to cities that have informal settlements, because it's a big problem. And remember, you will not solve the issue because you create a vicious cycle. A child who is born in that environment then grows up in our cities, and it's a ticking time. I'm sure.
Governor, there's an organization which we met some days back, African Population Health and Research Center, which have done a lot of research on that area, and they say they're working with the county government.
I know HRC, we're doing a lot of policy work with them. Additionally to that, by the way, when you talk about early childhood, many people think early childhood is just about school. The interventions needed for children start from HRC to look at the nutrition of the mother, the training of the parental training during pregnancy. And it's a program that started, it's been done in Addis Ababa, and I've seen how they've done it. Facilities for children to play, because what happens between, if you do now, the classrooms at ECDE. So it's a very comprehensive program that we are working on with HRC and Big Win Philanthropies that starts at the point of conception, because you see, as a county, we are also handling health, so we are the hospital. So once we've found a mother is pregnant, how do we start working on that child from the nutrition? The mother has the training, shouting at their wives and stop fighting, and they're told to start singing. And so they're singing in the house for their spouses, because they're told that affects the child's mental development. So it's a program that I would love to present to you, because one aspect of it also is playgrounds in our estates. So I think these are discussions that we need to have very holistically. We can even do either some symposium, really, between the counties with informal documents led by the Senate. You can bring different stakeholders, including this HRC unit. But these programs have never been the Senate can do. You have more convening power than any county on its own. You know, so I'd really, please let's follow that up, Chair.
Thank you. Maybe before you continue, there's a senator who has not come on record.
Thank you, Chair. Kamau Moranko, a member of this committee.
That's why members have to move to go and give quorum in other meetings.
And yeah, Chair, I'm actually informed that I'm being waited for in another committee.
Of health.
Energy. Health unit. I was invited to health, education and energy on the issue of public utilities and way leaves. You know, we had an issue on people.
Let's rush it out.
Yeah. So
Let's rush with ours. And I think members will appreciate that since we got this document today, I think we might need a workshop so that we can look at these documents before we do our oversight in Nairobi County. Thank you. Yes. Oh, he has not finished.
I think, Chair, for now, because the last question really came from Senator Muma on the policy and overall approach to informal settlements, and I've listed what we have and my suggestion of what we can do to enrich that.
Thank you. And you know that is a subject very close to Muma's heart.
Yes.
And she has done a lot of research around that. So I think, Muma, what I would suggest is if you have any subsidiary questions, please let's forward them to the governor, to be answered later. And then
just allow me to say that, Governor, as a former senator or a senator, I expect on the matters of bursary, you would be helping the COG to move in the right direction. There is no function called social protection for counties. Social protection is like social welfare, security, and social protection includes housing, health, education. So we cannot say education for purposes of governance will become social protection in order for you to implement. So for those of you who are, let us maintain that national government must put enough money for those bursaries, and if you want to do it, you must be given that money as a conditional grant.
I agree completely.
Thank you, Senator Muma. Let's move, please. Vice Chair, you are done. Yours. Let first Vice Chair.
Okay, let me start from where Senator Muma stopped, because that was one of the key issues. We wanted governors to be in one understanding with us. By the way, we are with the comptroller of budget. We are the ones who emboldened them when they came before us. And we said governors are giving bursaries instead of taking care of our little babies. And now you can see what the damage it has done. In fact, I was looking at your budget, Governor, and I was saying to myself, you have said 2024, 2025, there is no bursary that was given. And you are not including your VTCs. It means VTCs have never enjoyed anything, but hold that question. When we reach the VTC, you will tell us how you are funding your VTCs, because some counties are giving free VTCs. You just go in and start welding and go back home. So we want to know why that money was not attractive enough for the functions in Schedule 4. And we've been pushing that so much because Schedule 4. Governor, a few small questions, because I've asked a number of questions as I interjected. One is just a clarification. We are not against primary schools hosting ECDs. In fact, Nairobi, you said, is opposite, and I'm happy with that. Yeah, they are hosting. There is a policy here that tells you the acreage that you must confine your primary school. And that, in fact, in the city, it is about a quarter of an acre.
3 acres.
No, in this policy here of 2017, it gives you acreage, and that acreage, I hope you have the policy of 2017, and if you look at the policy of 2017, Article 1.1, pre-primary 1.1, if you can show the governor, we have urban areas, in fact it's less than a quarter, it is 0.125 acres. And then in rural high schools, the recommended acreage is a quarter. rural high density, and then rural low density is half an acre. What we are looking for is fencing off. Governor, we have gone to counties where governors have built beautiful toilets for the small kids, but in the primary school. So class 8 take over the toilets, and these little babies do their things before they reach there. So it is very important that we isolate them. I want to thank you because of the fact that you are focusing so much on how the child can be equalized at that level. And yours is rural and urban. You have also those slums which you must take care of. So I think I commend you for that. So we are not against primary schools hosting or ECDs hosting. Just let's make sure that they're isolated, they're fenced off, their play area is so attractive. And we look forward to see their play area. I was looking for the swings and the slides and whatever. Now, those ones are very attractive to class 4, even if they are ECD properties. They will jump over fences to go and play. So you must fence them and have an exclusive area for them. And that is also a comment. The other comment that I had was, I was actually very worried when I saw private schools are more than public schools. Then I said, okay, we have arrived in Nairobi, all of us, so we are building nursery schools to take care of middle class and above, so that should not worry us. Your ratio 1 to 33 is not that bad, but the population, I'm in shock. What is the population of students who are out of school? How many children don't go to ECDE? In my village where I was born, 1966 we started going to nursery. It means in Nairobi we have children who have never stepped in nursery, and since they overgrow at age 7, you send them to primary school. Do you have a figure? Have you done your estimate? Just put that one down, because we want you to summarize the last question since you are in a hurry. And the cost of building an ECD center, Governor, 18 million. This is the highest we've ever had. Is it that Nairobi is too expensive to build anything? Because we were accusing somebody this week that they're using 4.9 to build 2 classrooms and a small kitchen and one washroom. It was one, oh yeah, that one was 1 classroom. 1 classroom, an office, and whatever was going to 4.9. Now this one is, and that was the highest for us. So 18 million. The costs seem to be an issue that you need to pay attention to. If you are using public works, I know we discussed public works when you were senator, and we are saying public works give us figures that are outrageous. It's like they don't belong in the same country. And in fact, the National Assembly blocked them from giving figures. Even when I was a member of parliament myself, I would get their figures, white them out, and go for labor only. And when I went for labor only, I was using a quarter of what they were telling us. So sometimes some of these things called tenders can let us down. Transfer functions you have mentioned, was expensive. Why not spend in ECD VTCs? You will give us that one when we reach there. I think I'll leave it at that, Chair, so that we can quickly run through the VTCs.
Please do the furniture as you finish. And I'm told that Governor Natembeya has gone to Energy, that they will inform us when he's through. So can do the furniture.
Now, I was looking at the furniture. I've been tracking the furniture. Can your CEC tell us the page? Where is the classroom? The photos? 130.
As you're looking for the picture, I was just going to tell Governor, please compare the affordable housing cost in Nairobi for a 3-bedroom and what your people are telling you about 3 classrooms.
Okay, Governor, if you look at the photos of yours, what the police men.
Which page?
Actually, if you look at it, page 110. It is even earlier, even from 110, 111. You start from 108. The children are there. I think that's ones are in class. They are not eating. Then you go to 109, 110, 111, 112, 113. 113 up to 114. Governor, we have been looking at this, and I remember the first Council of Governors designed a table for children. And we said we don't want more than 6 children around a table. It's easier for the teacher and it's easier for understanding. It's easier when you want to do play groups, and it's easier when you want to change from one subject to the other, whether they are molding or they are doing whatever. But we can see that yours, most of them are rectangular. Where?
The trapezium tables.
Trapezium.
Trapezium, yeah. So that when they're brought together, it looks like an octagon.
Oh, so you have it.
So those are, see, that is 2 trapeziums.
Yes.
It's an octagon.
So you have this, where you have 2 brought together, then you have 6.
Yes.
So they are actually a 6-seater.
It's actually a 6-seater.
Not 6-seater. It's 6-sided. But
6-sided. Yeah.
Very many kids.
I think there's one picture I've
If
seen
it's
7.
a 6-seater, then you've got it.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a 6-seater.
The ones
When you put the 2 together,
yeah.
then you have every child,
Yeah.
you know, on their own
size.
space.
Yeah.
This we are calling it hexagonal because the sizes, the
Yes, you're
areas.
right, actually. It's
Yeah, so it's the same.
Cool. Because the same trapezium is now put laterally, it's straight.
But this one is hosting 2 kids per side.
Yeah. There's that one is not right. But if you look at 103, if you look at 105, each child has their
Actually, I can see one in 105.
There's just one naughty child
So
there.
if we can just ensure in our inspection that there's 6 children per crowding, is because all of them came to one room or something for the photos. Then I congratulate you like I congratulated them.
Then maybe the question would be how many schools have been equipped?
Are they all? So have you changed furniture for all your schools so that we know that that's what we'll see when we come out?
I know just recently we did 8,000 new trapezium tables and of course more chairs, because 8,000 then covers for 3 children, covering 24,000. There's been an improvement. We can give the details. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that is 80%, around 80% covered. The modern trapezium.
Okay.
Hexagon, what you call it, hexagon.
Hexagonal.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the last one was the toilets also. Have you modernized it the same?
Yeah, we are working on
Baby toilets. We are now
shorter
talking about
ones.
baby toilets.
Yeah, the baby toilets.
Yeah.
Some schools, it was really terrible, you know. And some of these schools, by the way, and I hope you can help us look for Nairobians. If you see the people who went to those schools, like Currency Primary School, the state it was in, yet the big heavyweights in this country, in corporate sector, went to those schools. They need to help us. But we've improved quite a number. I can give.
That's why I was saying, don't give away your donors to service provider.
They should come to us.
Have a fund, build a fund yourself, Nairobi feeding program and school improvement program, and then you can throw it to these MDs.
And ask people to go back to the school they went to, you know, and help support. But I must also thank our members of parliament. Some of them, through the SCTNEWS, have actually also supported some infrastructure for especially and toilets. But what we've done, Chair, additionally using one of our companies that the county owns, Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company, we've now done fresh ablution blocks in quite a number of the schools through Nairobi Water and Company. Boreholes, I am commissioning another 6 in the next few days that have been done through Nairobi Water. Especially in schools where you have Muslim community, they have had a big challenge with the issue of these ablution facilities for obvious reasons. And Chair, we've done an affirmative action for those areas. So I'll be very happy to share that those details further.
Thank you, Kavindu, please. Just one for Kavindu and then I come back to you, please. I know you're going to give quorum elsewhere, but please.
We've been waiting for long.
Anyway, my question goes to page 4, where we came from, about the feeding program. The county subsidy is 25, parents 5, and Governor, you are giving out your partners. How much does the partners contribute to this feeding program? Because you are contributing 25, parents 5, and I'm not seeing anything that is being contributed by the partners, and yet you have several partners for the feeding program. And how many of the let me come back. Let me come back for that. Let me get it and then come back.
Okay. Morango, please, Senator.
Ngata. Women. Na nikapata pia shule pale ya chekechea haikuwa nzuri sana, hakuna ukuta, wanasema pia wapati lishe. Nataka kujua gavana kama uko na mpango wote kuhakikisha wale watoto wamezaliwa pale pia kama kuna nafasi ya masomo.
Yeah, I've got it now. Through you, Chair, how many public libraries have the county government under your lead as built?
The subsidy, I think what we need to indicate the cost of the meal, because the county does 25 shillings, the parent 5 shillings, and then the supporters all together 15 shillings. Because the actual cost of the meal should be around 40 to 45 shillings. Of course, we know the price of commodities change based on the season. So it's around 40 to 45. We could have done it free, but we chose not to make it free. So it is 25, 15, and 5. The 15 is by Children Investment Foundation Fund, CIF.
I was just wondering why it's not on the list like the rest of them.
That must be an oversight, but also that is what goes directly to the county. The 15 goes to Food for Education, as we just do the 25, which they invoice us because they are like a service provider.
That is why Chair is telling you.
I agree with the Chair.
Don't give out the partners who come direct account for whatever they give. Now you cannot account for it.
And especially though they're audited, and they provide those reports. But what I'm grappling with now is really the holidays. The parents are telling me this is a long holiday, for instance. What do we do? So I'm figuring out a way that we will keep some of the kitchens running. Maybe not all
Je, umemaliza kidato cha 4? Una wasiwasi utaanzia wapi hatua ya pili? Hujui ni ufanye aje ili kuhitimu katika tajriba yako? YMCA National Training Institute inakukaribisha kujiunga kwenye diploma courses, certificate na short courses. Wana day na evening classes, wana courses kama plumbing, electrical engineering, building and construction, motor vehicle mechanics, fashion and design, hairdressing and beauty therapy, ICT and computer applications, hotel management and catering. Kwa maelezo zaidi wasiliana na mwalimu mkuu David Simiyu kwenye +254724784150 ama +254736219864. Vilevile unaweza wasiliana na mkuu wa mawazo kwenye +254726939256. YMCA Kenya, training for today's industry. Je, umemaliza kidato cha 4? Una wasiwasi utaanzia wapi hatua ya pili? Hujui ni ufanye aje ili kuhitimu katika tajriba yako? YMCA National Training Institute inakukaribisha kujiunga kwenye diploma courses, certificate na short courses. Wana day na evening classes, wana courses kama plumbing, electrical engineering, building and construction, motor vehicle mechanics, fashion and design, hairdressing and beauty therapy, ICT and computer applications, hotel management and catering. Kwa maelezo zaidi wasiliana na mwalimu mkuu David Simiyu kwenye +254724784150 ama +254736219864. Vilevile unaweza wasiliana na mkuu wa mawazo kwenye +254726939256. YMCA Kenya, training for.
Now, in totality, if you add all those sources of water, it was coming to 525.6 million liters daily. Yet the demand in Nairobi, when I got in, was 870 million liters per day. So the first thing we had to do was to increase the quantity, just pass the quantity of water coming into the city, which we've successfully done by completing Northern Collector 1, which has provided an additional 140 million liters of water in the city. There are areas now that never had water, that have water. If any of you lives in Karen, or Ngando, or Iruta, Langata now is getting water, and there's a pipeline. If you drive on Langata Road towards Galleria, you will see on the side of the road my contractors now doing a line through Bomas, that for the first time Langata, where we've grown up with no water at all, will be receiving through gravity, because the line that was serving Langata goes through Kibra and had a lot of infiltration. And of course it is going upstream. So we have to do one line through Kungu Karumba Road, which is this link road, Langata Link Road, coming all the way from Old Odume Road, from our Kabete reservoir. So generally the quantity has gone up. I am targeting another 220 million liters of water, where we've already gotten financing. Unfortunately, which the Senate needs to help us, counties should be allowed to get this directly, because we can pay, all these 4 sources we paid for. The 220 million liters of water, $100 million is supposed to do 2 things. Number one, Northern Collector 2, which is to give us 180 million liters additionally, and Maragua 4. Maragua 4 is also to give us, now combined with them, give us 200. And then in Ngedu water treatment plant, which we have in Gatundu North, we lose 30 million liters daily through the backwash filtration system. So our engineers designed a reverse backwash. When we filter the water, it goes into the environment. Now we're going to get it back. So it is possible for us to now completely fill the gap. Through that program, it has been stuck at the National Treasury and the Ministry of Water, because we cannot get the financing directly. Yet the Korean government has expressed interest to give us that money over a long time concessional period. So what we've had to do is to intervene in the areas where the water hasn't gone up, because the 140 has helped in areas like Utawala, in areas like Mihango, these areas of Langata and Karen from the Kabete line. We've done one from Kiambu Institute of Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology, coming through Roysambu, Zimmerman, down all the way to Embakasi Garrison, and so Kayole has increased water. So you find areas that were getting water once a week, now getting thrice a week. What we're advocating for is storage in the schools. So in many of the schools, I've had to intervene by doing boreholes on the west of Nairobi. In the east of Nairobi, the NMS made a mistake of digging 100 boreholes. Yet, the fluoride amount in the east of Nairobi, The World Health Organization recommendation is 1.5 parts per million. You find some at 6 ppm, 5 ppm, and you know what fluoride does to the teeth and to the bones. They become brittle to the children. So many of those, we're either stopping them or decommissioning them, because the only way you can sort it out is to do dilution, because you cannot do reverse osmosis, it's too expensive. So that's why you find, for instance, if you go to Kibra Primary School today, you'll find there's a new borehole that is working, where we've been able to test like Umoja 1 Primary, and the fluoride level is okay, commissioned, and the borehole is actually done. And so I'm opening another 6 of them. So we keep doing that through Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company. If I get support from this house and access the $100 million, the story of water shortage will be done. Because now what you can do when you have at least the correct pressure of water is to use what we call SCTNEWS technology, which from my phone I'll be able to see where somebody has cut off our line to fill in the water tankers. But until you've filled a pipe, it's not like it's a pipe. If the water is just here and you have the SCTNEWS technology, it will measure air, it will measure other things. So you see high non-revenue water figures. But until you've actually filled the entire, radius or diameter of the pipe, then you can be able to use that what called SCTNEWS technology, which is the next step that we are going to. So we have plans to make sure all the schools, at least for the children, that there is water that is available throughout. There was a problem with the water bills in these schools. You can imagine many schools were not able to pay for their water. So the county comes and intervenes. Because in as much as Nairobi Water is our company, fully owned by the county government, we have to make sure that it stays afloat. So the county government intervenes on behalf.
You have answered. I think that's good.
Thank you.
Just need some clarification, Chair. You are saying that you're not allowed to do PPP with the Korean government or agency. Yet in the previous Water Amendment Act that we did, we allowed counties to do PPPs with county governments. The only thing that we were against was for the National Water Works agencies to do PPPs, and then they sell water to counties to the last mile, denying now the water companies to sell the water.
That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're trying to charge us for Northern One. But what with the Korean government is not a PPP, it's actually a loan. It's a loan. If you look at my Nairobi Water Company, we found it at 8 billion in terms of revenue. This last year we hit 12-point-something billion in terms of revenue. It is actually able to pay those loans. But you see, the PFM limits our ability to borrow as subnational entities. That is the only challenge. Such that you can have all that agreement, we've sat down, you see me sometimes out of the country, we agree, I have to come back to Treasury, or I have to come back to the ministry, they take us around. The last example I'll give you, because you're senators, you can help me. Nairobi has a problem with transport and transit and traffic jams. We got 314 euros from the French Development Agency, European Investment Bank, 74 million euros to do line 3 of the BRT. To get cabinet approval took me 2 years, from December 2022 to December 2024, to get cabinet approval. After getting a cabinet approval, December last year, to date, the financing request has not gone out, because the national government may not see it as a priority, but we see it as a priority, yet we cannot get the borrowing. Some of these things in devolution, the Senate must come in very strongly to support.
Thank you. I think you've got it right. Senate must come in. Let's have a way of having a joint meeting to discuss this. Get your proposal out, talk to your colleague governors, let's get the proposal out, and then senators can go through and see what kind of areas we should cover. I wanted us to stop there and go to VTCs quickly, because there are only 4 questions. I think there's 1 question on libraries and 14, and then VTCs will have
just
3.
Before you leave there, I want to advise the governor on, in those areas where you're getting real challenges, give the same to your senator to bring it as a question at the Senate, and it will be handled more quickly for you. Thank you.
Yeah, and then where there is policy shift, there may be need even for joint meetings actually, because what he's saying is a whole shift that he has struggled alone as Nairobi, but it would be something that could come in policy, so that we...
Actually, it is legislative. It is both the PFMA and the PPP Act. They have actually disadvantaged counties, and it is something as a Senate that we need to take up.
Completely. And I'll just give you a quick example, Chair, if you allow. We've raised our revenue in the city to now 13.8 billion shillings a year. It was much lower before. To sort up a lot of the problems in this city, we need maybe an infrastructure support of 20 billion. Yeah. The equitable share you give us from the Senate is 20 billion. So in a year, I have 30, but the one which is assured completely is 20. If I want to get a facility in the bank today of around maybe 10 billion and clear all these pending projects, stalled projects, and then get another 20 the next year, I cannot, because PFM says 5% of revenue. Yet, I can be able, the bank will be happy to give me a facility that national government guarantees and says from the 20 billion equitable share, we will withhold 1 billion a year. That 1 billion we will pay the bank. So the issue of financing, because the challenge in this city, let me tell you, the challenge in this city is one thing, financing. It is only financing. If you sort out that, of course there's governance and there's the structure, that's why we're doing the barrows, so that the person dealing with Kayole is not thinking about Westlands, But once we sort out the level of city financing, and I will tell you because I sit in a class in Harvard with 38 other mayors around the world. You find a mayor with a population of 200,000, a budget of $800 million. The mayor of Paris was here to see me recently, Ana Hidalgo. Her city has 2 million people. Her budget is 1.something trillion, 9 billion euros. I have 7 million people, my budget is 30 billion. The Nairobians, of course, we want Paris level of life, but we're not also paying. So there must be a discussion on financing of especially the capital city. Urban Areas and Cities Act Section 6 talks about it, but the last 13 years of devolution, no progress has been made. So I have a number of proposals I will bring either to the devolution committee or to whichever committee that we need to relook for the city.
Let's come to devolution, but we are happy with that kind of information. Chair, I think we are ready to go to question 14.
Yeah. Let's go ahead. Governor, give the response.
Thank you, Chair. The question is on the number of public libraries established in the county, the operational status, staffing levels, and qualifications of personnel managing the libraries, and initiatives aimed at enhancing library services and promoting reading culture. The total number of the public libraries in the county are 5, Chair. Namely Macmillan Library, which is in Banda Street. It's the oldest library actually. Possibly the oldest library in the country. Second, which is the oldest? Oh yes, it's the second oldest. The oldest is in Malindi. Macmillan Library. We have Kibera Community Library in Langata. We have Kaloreni Library, Eastlands Library, Wadaka Library, Chair. The status, Macmillan was set for a major facelift in this financial year. There's work being done. If you go to Macmillan Library, you'll find the oldest newspaper in this country from 1904, actually still available. We have kept those records meticulously to date from 1903 or 4 or 6, thereabout. And there's some works that unfortunately stalled in restoring, especially the basement. We're in talks with the Nation Media Group, who have committed to come and discuss with the new CEO to actually support us in restoring that basement and the archives there. Kaloleni is operational with current and relevant information. There's free Wi-Fi. Eastlands Library is state of the art. It is where I took King Charles on his first visit in Kenya. That is where we went to. It is spacious. It has relevant information materials, and we're working with Book Bank, which is an NGO that supports upgrading of these libraries. Working very well with them. Kibera Library is operational. It's spacious, updated information materials, free Wi-Fi. Modeka Library is operational as well with an updated information material. Chair, the library function was fully devolved. The unbundling of functions gazetted stated that, but the national government again is holding on to 2 libraries that belong to Nairobi County, including the Kenya National Library at Milimani. Of course, there are issues that we don't want to take, like national indexing, and there are certain elements that we don't need to take, but the law should be followed. That library belongs to the county government. of Nairobi, we can cooperate it, but still it belongs to us. And also Buruburu, we have a problem. We want the Senate to intervene on our behalf. Macmillan has 8 staff. Kaloleni has 2, Kibra has 5, Eastlands has 5, Wadaka has 1. That is the staff that we have. But of course, as I've said, we're partnering with this NGO that also sends volunteers and staff, to support, and interns to support. Personnel manning and qualifications, all of them are BSc in information science. Kaloleni and Wadaka is where we have diploma in information sciences. What initiatives are there at enhancing library services and promotion of reading culture among learners and wider community? 1, user education to library users, outreach programs, we have book week events, we have community events. It was very interesting, even in areas without libraries, we do community. For instance, before we did the river regeneration program, we went with books to Madare and had a river festival that was about reading, and the older generation explained to the children that there used to be fish in this river, and the children saying, we can't imagine that, but let us, so they would start drawing, and there was oral literature that was happening. It was a very beautiful thing to see between the older generation that were in Madare before and those who are there today. We've hosted a lot of collaboration, interviewing scholars. The SCTNEWS have been there. Musical performances. There's an example of Giuliani and Mwakio. We have monthly book clubs by several groups. I would invite you to be members of at least Macmillan since you're in town. Please come and look at our books. You can borrow a book and return it. And I've just remembered I owe them one book I've not returned. There's children artworks that we're doing, drawings, dance clubs, public participation, ADP forums are held also along the libraries. And so there are many of such examples, directly and also with our partners. Safaricom, we partnered with them to train library users, 50 in number, 9 to 13 years old, under Safaricom's Kick to Code program that is ongoing. Introduction of PayBill that has made it convenient for those who, where we need payments done. Feedback channels. There are tour guides. These days there's a lot of urban tourism, and we found some young people very innovative, where they bring the tourists, put them in a matatu, and bring them to the CBD, take them to Macmillan, bring them to Eastlands. That even just the matatu tour is part of a cultural experience that many of our tourists are enjoying, when they come to the city. We're empowering women in Eastlands and Kaloleni with our partners. And I think finally is the end of year celebrations, where we host 250 children for fun, art, drawing. And there's an annual dinner where we raise funds for our libraries, chair. The list of VCTs, so I don't know whether I should answer the question asked on additional libraries we've done.
Yeah, maybe you could before you go to VCTs.
Yeah. We've acquired 2 libraries, 2 of the libraries that had been held, 2 of the ones held by national government, which is Kibra and Waidaka, which we acquired from AMREF, and we have rehabilitated it. We've not built an additional library yet as a county. We've not been able to do that. We're seeing that what works is having our social halls have a section where in the evening our children can do homework. You find that in many of these settlements, in the house, it's not conducive for a child to do homework or to study. And so in the evenings, they come into our social halls that are all across the city. There's a section where they can get books and where they can read. So we've not built physical structures, but we pass the library, we spread the library function to more areas.
You said you have a social halls.
Social halls, our social halls, yeah. And we've built more social halls. Yeah, so it's a mixed use. It's not a library per se, because you'll find there's chess being played there, there is table tennis, but you do a section where children can actually come and access books. That is what is working for us. The funds would allow you to build standalone. But another concept that works very well in the city is mobile libraries. Yeah, so a mobile truck that actually moves from place to place, and the children can borrow books, and then it goes to another place, but they have to go with the books home. So it's not a physical space where you come in.
Are you saying that is a plan or what you're implementing already?
We have partners who've been implementing that with us. Yeah, we've not. The one studio we built, which was a library and also a recording studio, unfortunately, was burnt down during the protests last year. It was a 40-foot container with those facilities, and it was parked at Uhuru Park. It was burnt completely down, and that was serving both functions, both recording for the arts, music, etc., but also library function. Now there's a group that has brought us a proposal where using the Ndudis, they can actually move estate to estate and have kids borrow books, and then we interact with them and say if someone can recite something, etc. That we're still working on. It's a very novel idea, but which is good because just of the dense nature of the city, you know, that is something we're looking at. We've not yet implemented it with them, but we're currently looking at it. Can I go to VCT?
Chair, can I ask on library?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the chair, allow me, because we don't have a committee on museums, and the function on library is closely related to the museums. I would want to know what Nairobi is doing, because you have a lot of rich history. From what you're saying, there is plenty that can be done, even cinemas.
Yes.
Should we do to deliver on cinemas? You then think out of the box, do the activities, and then put a budget. But when you don't have the policy, it's easy for it to fall through the cracks. So I would want to know, museums, do you have any partnerships with the history departments? What are you doing around that, plus the cinemas?
Yeah, so that may be, you can answer both. Can I ask also a question on libraries?
Yeah. Yes, Senator, go ahead.
Yeah, that now, Governor, now that you're saying that it's proper and a good idea to do mobile libraries, I think let's spruce up that idea so that you implement it. So that if you have a library, maybe a library, and you want to bring books to a school, you can take the books to a school, having a track that is mobile, and then there's another day they come back and collect the books and give new ones. Yeah, it's important so that books are available to the kids.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator. That is it's actually what we're thinking of doing, and we provided for budgetary provisions to be able to implement that. First, by replacing the mobile one we've tussled with insurance. The insurer seems like, and we've reported to the Insurance Regulatory Authority, because we had insured that mobile library to the tune of around 60 million. But the company looks like, I think that company is going under. They have a problem. They have not been able to pay us. We've written to IRA about that specific company, and we've cancelled all contracts with that insurer.
So through you, Chair, Governor, how long do you think this will take? Because that is where my question was coming from, because this...
For the mobile library?
Yes.
Within this financial year, the problem we're having is procurement. There's a big challenge on EGP with most counties, and I think also with national government, given what we had yesterday at the COG meeting with the control of budget. If we're allowed to procure it manually or through the IFMIS system, you know, before EGP we were doing e-procurement as Nairobi, but through IFMIS. If we're allowed to do that, then we can be able to replace at least that library in this financial year, because the budgetary provision is there. Otherwise, we are more or less stuck because we can't move. The challenge that we've had again is the clawing back of functions that have been unbundled. The museum function has actually been, it was in the Gazette notice by TRC. In fact, what they said was all revenue from museums must be collected by counties. But when we send our officers to the National Museum or to whichever other museum, there is resistance, you know. So we again will come to you, because we don't have a standoff with the national government or a scaffold, like we saw in one of our parks where KFS had come to forcefully take over, and we said no, this park, City Park, belongs to the county. And I'm glad the court ruled that 2 weeks ago, and KFS has left. Because they even they created a fake title during NMS time, a fake title deed of City Park by the national government under the Minister of Finance. Yet we have the original title from 1920 something of City Park as it is belongs to the county government of Nairobi. So there's a lot of, some of these things we don't say out there because we don't want to politicize the engagement. But before I became a senator, I used to wonder why people say you need to protect devolution. Protecting from who? Now I know you need to protect it. Because the default setting, even with well-intentioned people, the default setting in national government is to claw back. Because they think as we are doing kalongolongo in small governments, they think we're not serious. But really our functions must. So on museums, and I agree Senator Muma, a holistic, and we'll engage even a consultant to actually do a holistic policy, because there are many things to curate. If I show you, for instance, the oldest sign in this country is just down the road here, the railway sign of the height of Nairobi, which is, I always give my guests, a copy of a book that shows you the history of this country. Nairobi was the first Commonwealth city in the world. So even excerpts of the Hansard, where the Duke of Gloucester, who had come here to present Nairobi the first Commonwealth Charter, and in the House of Commons, when the question was asked, why Nairobi, why not Kingston, why not India, and the way Nairobi was described by one of the members of Parliament and the Foreign Secretary at that time of what Nairobi means to the British Empire. Those are things that we need to curate. If you go to Eastlands, the house of Jaramogi of Ginga Odinga, we're doing up a renewal, but I have preserved that house will not be touched. It must stay like that. We were in Ziwani the other day. In Ziwani, in 1952, Phoebe Asio's house, Tom Mboya, the house where Tom Mboya lived in 1959, where when actually in Phoebe Asio's book, he talks about that house of Tom Mboya and Margaret. In Tom Mboya's house, you would find Julius Nyerere sitting in there with him. And the Mzungu has come because Tom Mboya was collecting money to pay Dennis Pritt. Dennis Pritt was a lawyer of the Kapenguria 6, so he was working with a leather pouch. This same Tom Mboya was a city council worker. There's so much history that if we don't curate, there's the car that I use sometimes, I'm sure you've seen during national functions, that was Charles Rubia's. It's called a Princess, That car is in industrial area, in our garage. I want it in City Hall, in a place where children can come and look at it and enter and see it. So I agree. Let's do that policy so that we can deliberately, because we should not depend on the memory or the reading culture of a few people to explain to you. And some of the people who would tell us this, I would sit with the late former Prime Minister and he would give me stories about what this estate meant. If you go to Burma, what happened in 1952 after the state of emergency was that they killed a councillor called Mbutela because they wanted the Kikuyus and the Luos to fight. So Jaramogi Oginga Odinga and Tom Mboya would go around Makongeni telling the Luos, don't fight, we are being set up. The next year, they killed another councillor, Lumumba, and burnt Burma Market to create an uprising between the two communities. It didn't work. The story of where we're sitting today, this was a church, this and where Parliament is, it was called the Tin Tabernacle, that in 1910 thereabout, because the Mzungu didn't want to be in the same church with an African, the government bought land and sent the Mzungu to All Saints Cathedral where it is today, and sent the black person to St. Stephen's, Jogo Road. And that's why this land became available for Parliament. Parliament even does not know its history. So if I start, I won't finish. There's so much on museums and the history of this city that we definitely need to curate, and that's something we'll be very happy to participate with. I've spoken to one, John Kamau. He writes on the Nation about history, and he's a historian at the University of Toronto in California, but he's a Kenyan. And so we should be able to do something very soon along that line. But I agree, Senator Moa, without the policy, I forget that and I start dealing with the potholes and garbage. So the urgency of day-to-day makes you stop thinking of such deep things.
If there were policy, you'll be reminded by your chief officers. So, senators, please let's make a move. Please let's move to the question 16. 15.
Thank you, Chair. Question 15. The list of vocational training centers, we have 11 VTCs. And Annex 13 has the list. And they have become very popular because we have now introduced driving. So some of even what we're giving as bursaries to directly, at least 1 million per ward must go directly, that's 85 million to these vocational training centers. That's what we've agreed with the Education Committee in the County Assembly. Enrollments by gender and course, the fees charged per student, payments from parents, county government and development partners. We have listed the enrollment at close of second term was 1,114 trainees. We have set aside 71 million support trainees in the financial budget, plus the 85 million that will come when bursaries are able to resume. Affirmative action provided to disadvantaged populations, including persons living with disabilities and residents of informal settlements, in order to access the vocational training, specifying how VTCs integrate learners with disabilities. In collaboration with Girl Child Network, we've made 8 VTCs to be PWD friendly, providing ramps and wide doorways to accommodate wheelchairs and mobility aids. The adapted washrooms fitted with grab bars and wider cubicles. We've worked with Catholic Relief Services, CRS, and our Wezesha Vijana projects, given opportunity to vulnerable trainees in 5 of the VTCs, as well as Safaricom Foundation, Chair, additionally. And Chair, many people don't know the building code has been upgraded, but we have a KEBS standard in this country through the Bureau of Standards on disability access. And so on top of the VTCs, even works on walkways, how the walkways end, how the ramps are to accept wheelchair, the size of the doors of even buses or mass transit have already been specified under the KEBS Act, but many agencies, including national government and many counties, do not realize that because that needs to be implemented. Yet another thing for us to look at. Finally, the skills training provided in vocational training centers, including future plans, targets, lessons learned, and challenges faced during implementation. The 11 VTCs and 1 HCC trained in a range of courses, artisan and trade test. Courses are examined by NITA and the National Examination Council, and soon transition into TVET CDSCC. So all of that, Chair, is an Annex 14. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Muma.
My traditional question again. Your Excellency, again, if you had a VTC policy, your department would be forced to know what is your catchment population like. So we would want, I'm sure if we stayed longer, we'd ask you how many of your Nairobi learners did not transition from secondary, I don't know, let me just use the old school, from primary and secondary schools into tertiary institutions. How many have not been accounted for? How many others have become Nairobi population because they came from Kitui, Kakamega and all of that? And therefore, how are you designing the VTCs to be able to take this? And what we are finding as a committee, that governors have not taken the VTC function seriously. And yet, that is where the crux of the matter is in creating skills for jobs for young people in this country. So we would want to urge that this be taken seriously. We think the monies you're pouring in bursaries should actually be going to this function. You should actually be helping the nation to support this group that is falling through the cracks. And I would want to know also, in Nairobi, you have a lot of the big industries. But there is the national government, what do you call the program? Is it CAPS? Whatever it is. The industrial, the creation of the industrial parks by counties where the national government is putting in some money and you're putting in some money. Beyond the traditional industry that we have, a lot of it manufacturing for export. What is Nairobi thinking through? Given I believe you have the largest number of young people who need to be skilled, and therefore you might want to add additional industry.
Thank you, Senator Kamar. Let us have all the questions, and then you can answer. Senator Kamar, please.
Yeah. Yeah, Governor, I think you have been asked about the transition thing that really worries us as a committee. When you talk of transition and you talk of only 11 PTCs, 12 maybe, in Nairobi, Wasingishu has 14. And we are demanding more. Trans Nzoia has 32. I just want to give you the figures, the places we visited recently. Elgeyo Marakwet, 18. The population is in Nairobi. The buildings that are going on in Nairobi are so many. So it is costing you immigrants from other countries that are coming for labor jobs. Because if you don't have enough masons and you have a lot of buildings in Nairobi, then people have to migrate. Then it gives pressure to your water issues. It gives this thing of urban migration. You are attracting it completely just by not having enough of this. Yeah. So you become a victim of that kind of thing. So I'm asking myself, 11? I started 11, Your Excellency, when I was a member of parliament. Because I came from the university and discovered that most of my students were not going to university. So they were hanging somewhere. Most of my primary kids were not going anywhere. So I told myself, I set aside money from CDF. And I decided I was going to, when I reached there were two which were being closed. So I revived those two and shifted completely. Two of them, as you are talking of transition, two of my VTCs were transited to TTIs. And that was a constituency. Of course, they have lived a life of up and down. Even when we went there, some of the things were not very impressive. But I'm talking of population and transition, as Senator Muma is saying. You have offloaded from class 8s into the streets, and then we have also offloaded from 4s into the streets, because the passing rate of Nairobi to university is not more than 30%.
You know, there are those 11, but there are also 309 Tibets. There are so many private facilities in addition. Of course, we as a county should build more, but it's not that there are only 11 places of vocational training.
But what is that? What are they? You know, they are TTIs. We are not talking about TTIs.
No, the Tibets are doing vocational training through Tibet on plumbing, engineering, mechanics, masonry, hairdressing.
This thing called, what do we call that certificate? The lowest certificate of NITA. Trade test, 3, 2, and 1 is what was given to the governor. So that you take care of your class 8, those who are exiting class 8, because we don't have enough secondary schools.
And the population in informal settlements who cannot afford those big.
We need more. Just add me money, I will build them.
You have money. That is why we are protecting your money from going to bursary. You are giving a bursary to a university student. You are giving your bursary to a scholarship to a university. Why 10 an hour? Those ones will go on the streets for themselves. You know, they go to the streets and they vent for themselves. Our worry is this one who left class 8. Is in Nairobi street, informal sector. If there is no VTC in an informal sector in Nairobi,
for the trade test, there's the 11 plus another 40 that are private. But I completely agree with you on that issue of you know, if you help us, because you see, we do bursaries because the need is so clear and there's a gap left by the national government. If they can actually make education free completely from primary and secondary, completely.
Governor, we are with you there as a Senate.
We'll put all that money.
We are with you there as a Senate. What we are asking is let the money follow the functions. So if you want to give bursaries, please ask the national government to give you the money. What we want is let the money follow the function. Yeah, Senator Maruma. Maybe as Senator Maruma comes on, you could also give us the number of secondary schools in Nairobi.
Chair, I've been waiting before Senator Maruma.
Number 16. On the affirmative action provided to the affirmative action provided to disadvantaged populations, including persons living with disabilities and residents of informal settlements. In your answer, I have seen adaptation to do with ramps and wide doorways and washrooms, but the actually learning, the skilling has not been captured. You know, the PWDs don't go through the normal curriculum of pre-primary, primary, what is it called, junior school, senior school. They go through initial numeracy and literacy, and then they transit to pre-vocational, then they go to vocational. So in answering this, you really need to tell us what they are learning in the content. Yes, the content, and how you are adapting in teaching the deaf, the blind. You know, what skills are they learning? That's what we need really here, so that everybody can be able to learn skills.
Okay, Senator Kavindu.
Yeah, thank you, Chair.